VGA was always my, that was the one that would work if nothing else worked. So I don't know what's going on here, but I think you got enough battery. You're okay.
I don't know why I screwed that thing.
That's strange that didn't work. Good.
There we are.
Fantastic. Give me about a minute so I can find Luper's grade sheets. Is the other pros. Did you get that was a technology presentation? The pros one for you. Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So hi everyone, I'm Fred Liederbach, and doing my second presentation on a facial recognition system prototype. So I'll do a quick review of what that is. So the idea is to have a bunch of Raspberry Pis that you could put in every room of your house or at every entrance to a building, running facial recognition software, and then whenever a camera recognizes a person, they send a message to a server who records that a person has been at that location. And then there should be a web application for easy access to view who's been where on the system. So the technologies I'm using, I've got a Raspberry Pi. I've just got one for the demo, but it's running the OpenCV computer vision library, which is interfaced with Python, and then has socket.io, which can communicate with the server, and the server is running Node and a MongoDB, and I'm using Express, and also has socket.io, and then a client, which I'm planning on using Angular. I have a very rough web app right now, so I haven't done much there. So here's the project structure. In my first presentation, I was planning on there is a open source project for that has bindings for OpenCV in Node, and JavaScript, but I couldn't get that to work, so I'm using Python instead.
What was it about it that didn't work?
I'm not really sure.
Wouldn't build?
Yeah, it wasn't. I couldn't get it to build, and I kind of gave up on it because I did it. It takes forever to build OpenCV on the Raspberry Pi, so I did it once, and then I kind of had to. Yeah. So it would have been nice to do everything in JavaScript, but I don't know if I think it's kind of old. There hasn't been a lot of work on it recently, so you had to use an older. There's OpenCV 3.4 they're now on. You could only use it with 2.10 or older. So I'm not sure exactly what was going wrong, but all right. So the first probe I'm going to do is talking about the facial recognition on the Raspberry Pi. So the goal of this part is to have facial recognition running on Raspberry Pi, which I have. And so I'm going to talk about face detection, creating a face data set and training the library, and then face recognition. So this is my Raspberry Pi. So the first thing is face detection. So I've got that in this demo. So basically, we're using the OpenCV library, and there's these cascades, which can be used for any sort of object detection, but this one is for detecting faces. And so we capture an image from the camera, convert the image to grayscale, and then we run this cascade, and we detect all the faces, and it returns a vector with one of the corners of the face and the width and the height of the face. And then, so what this does is just in the image draws a rectangle around each face it detects and shows the image, and then grabs another image and repeats. All right, so here we are, and that's me. I don't know if this will work, but we'll see if we can detect faces in the room. No, apparently not.
I'm good to stay alive. Let's see. Cover needs to be closer.
Yeah, I don't. Too far away, but it does work with. We'll see.
Go. Get in front of the
Oh
camera.
yeah, here we are. Let's look.
Yeah, it was.
There we are. Oh, we got two now.
Okay.
We got two.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty neat. All right. So a little slow, but for my purposes, I'm not trying to look at the video anyways.
Hey,
So.
for a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
Python.
Yeah, and this is Raspberry Pi 2, which is not even the newest one. So, so not bad. All right, so that's face detection. So the next thing you need to do is build a data set so you can then identify if the program knows this face or not. So basically, what you need to do for the data set is just get a bunch of pictures of faces. So this is mine. I wrote a nice little script just to pulls out the grayscale images. And so you label them with this is the person's ID, and then we've got one photo for each person, and so on. So I think for mine, I only have 10 photos for mine, and it's working pretty well. So that's the data set, and then there's you need to train the system. So this is, you just run this once you get your data set. You just run this to train the system. So it's very similar to the previous thing, well, somewhat similar, but you just loop through the path, through the images, and we're using the same classifier. And then this is the, what does that stand for? I've got it written down. The local binary pattern histogram, which is one of the 3 options I talked about last time. From what I understand, this is the overall the most reliable because it isn't as affected by light and other ambient factors. And then it creates this trainer.yml and saves it. So I've already run that, so we don't need to run that. So now we can, we've got our faces that we're going to recognize, and we can detect them. And so this is very similar. Oh, that's the one I already did. We want recognition. This is very similar to the detection, except that we have an additional line. Is we have a recognizer, which is again using the local binary patterns, and we call the recognizer for each face that we see. All right, and then we draw a box around, and this is just formatting.
It's training on what's inside the rectangle.
No, it's training on the data set that I've saved previously, and then it pulls the rectangle from the live feed and says, do I recognize anything from the training that I've had? And then this is just displaying some information about the feed. So we'll see that. So that's me, and that's the confidence.
With a 32% reliability.
Yeah, so I've gotten.
You came up as Donald.
Well, so that was the other. I've got another training image. Let's see. Is it gonna work? Oh, there we are.
The Donald.
Yeah. So I had it. Yeah. So I don't know. My training. Is not very extensive, but I don't have that many training images. So, but yeah, all right, good. So that's facial recognition running on the Raspberry Pi, and so yeah, once you get the library downloaded, it's quite easy to use, and not that. It's pretty simple once you get it downloaded. So the next thing, will be a quick probe, but this is my communication between the Raspberry Pi and the server. And the idea is it needs to be, I need to have communications. I need to have the clients send a message to the server, but also. I don't know if I'll get to this, but I want to eventually try and train each Raspberry Pi from the web app, have the ability to do that. So I want to be able to pass communications both ways, easily and in real time. So I'm using Socket.io. So this is running on the server, and so. You can just start it up, and then every time it just listens for a call that's labeled server event, and then it just displays what the client sent to it.
So this is a node module we're looking at?
Yeah, this is a node module. And then what this one does is it just every 3 seconds it emits a random number. And so this emit will, if you had multiple clients, it would just go to anyone, and anyone that was set up to receive a client event would pull in the message. So let me start that. And then here, I've got, here we are. So here, this was, again, just a little project I found that somebody has allowed the socket.io to work with Python. So that's what I'm using here. And so you connect to the server, and then you can listen for a client event. And when you receive a client event, we just print out the client event. What's the name of this? All right, so over here it says we're connected, and then we sent a message to the client, and then back on the Raspberry Pi, we receive the message, and then it just sends the same number right back to the server. So you see just sending it back and forth. So just a couple lines of code, and you've got live communication. All right. So I've got the Raspberry Pi. I can communicate to the server. And so now I need a database and the ability to view the data. So I've got a MongoDB running on with Node. And the goal is to store incoming data from sensors in the database and then be able to retrieve information based upon different queries. So I've got the ability to store incoming data from sensors and the ability to retrieve information, but not based on queries yet. That's something I need to finish. All right, so I've got my Mongo database hosted online. So I've got a few 8 entries right now. So I just have three fields. I don't know if that's the right word, but the camera ID, what camera the person was spotted on, the name of the person, and the time when the person was spotted.
So this is a recognition event log.
Yeah, basically. I think on my first project, or first presentation, one of my ambitious goals was, you could from the website you can say, okay, I want to look at this camera live. I don't know if I'll get to that, but that would be an eventual interesting thing to have. All right, so here's the server. So just on startup, we connect to the database, and then here we just we retrieve all the elements from the database, and then I've got I'm running EJS in the HTML. Just displays all of the items from the array that we got from the database. Oh. That's not good. Oh. There we are. All right, so here's just the test entries I have right now. Just some test cameras, some names, and the date when they were submitted. All right, so then also in the server, we've got a socket. We started a socket, and what the socket does is on server event, there's 3 arguments passed, the cam ID, person ID, and date time from the Python, and then we just save that to the database. All right, so over here, I've got face recognition Python, or socket. And it's the exact same thing as we looked at earlier, except that if we recognize a face, we emit a message. All right. So let's run this. All right. So it recognizes me, it thinks I'm Donald Trump, and we'll quit that. And now if we go over here and refresh, we've got a bunch of Donalds and Fred. So the issue is that I obviously didn't come in and out of the picture 4 times. So right now, every time it loops through, it's sending a message to the server. So that is the other major thing I need to figure out, is how to say, okay, I only want one message for if this person's been standing in front of the camera for 10 minutes. This is, I've got all the information coming right from the camera.
All the basic stuff.
Yeah, and you would, if I had another camera, you could just run the exact same thing, and it would, you just call it a different camera, and then it would expand easily. All right, so that's probe 3. So I already talked about most of this, but the work to do, I need to make the end-to-end integration work a little bit better. And then I need a policy for when to record an event, just not every time it pulls an image and recognizes somebody. And then I want to be able to query the database for what camera is it from, or in this time did you see, or when did I see a person. All right, so that's end of that.
So, your timeline is?
Well, I'm a little behind the timeline that I set out originally, but I need to. The next thing I want to do is figure out how to. The first major. These are the bare minimum bullet points I have. So I need to come up with a policy so that it doesn't record every time, and then I'm going to work on querying in the user interface.
Okay. I think you should have a milestone.
Okay.
chart
Yeah.
here, but
All right.
aside from that, I really like that presentation.
All right.
Any
other
further questions for Fred? So Python has a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah.
Does Python support classes?
Yeah.
Does?
Yeah.
And lambdas, maybe?
I'm not. Couldn't tell you that.
Does it? Cool. I might start playing around with it.
Yeah, there's all kind. I mean, I don't know. I have friends who are in other, geology and stuff, and they use Python exclusively. There's just so many libraries. There's a great stats library,
Looks
and
like it's a nice way to prototype stuff. You got something you want to do, and if you need high performance, maybe you'll wind up doing it in C++. But,
yeah.
But nice to whip out a quick prototype to make sure that everything works the way you want.
Yeah. All right.
Good. Nice job. Okay, so our second presenter was deferred. So on Thursday, the 26th. So Jinian and Eric Young. Eric, are you here? Eric's not here. So it looks like Ginny and Eric will present. And oh, and you? So hang on again. Why did I miss you? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You are right here, right in front of me. Good. Okay. So if all three of you are here to present, I assume you will be. We'll either go a little over long, or I think we'll probably wind up just going a little longer than we would have otherwise. I think that's because I don't think we want to make it the presentations much shorter. I think the presentation format I like what we're doing. Anybody that didn't get grading back, I've graded the probing presentations and the technology presentations, so you can come up and grab your grading from me. And the project ones, I'm still grading. I think it's highly unlikely that I'll have them done by Thursday, but if not, I'll hand it back on Tuesday. Okay. And anybody that didn't pick them up then, can pick them up at the final presentation. So. All righty, so we're done except for you guys picking up grading. Yeah. So, Christina, here's a tech res, and let me find you. You're not alphabetical, so I got it.
So I was able to submit product one, but with that batch file, it got rid of the CSV file.
Yeah, and it's, I'll
So
just
that's fine.
rebuild it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just rebuild it.
Thank you. It literally cut it down to like 200 kilobytes from 150.
Yeah, big difference. Did I see Wei Jun? Is Wei Jun here? Did I see Wei Jun? Oh, okay. So here you are. Here's the tech res, and I have a probe for you. Here's your tech presentation. Probe for you. You got a question, okay? Did everybody get their grading? Is there anybody that didn't get grading? Okay.
After that, I use the second copy, the backup copy, I tried running that over. I have to save whether I need to.
Yeah, I finished project one, and it's been a fiasco. But I finished.
Uncontained, undeclared
yeah,
identifier.
I'm free to meet now if
Text
people are free
search.
to meet now. I just started looking into React today.
Uncontained.
So obviously I need to do.
Well, I can't find this, so where did you define m underscore contain?
I don't have anything like that.
Well, then that's why I can't find it. Where did it come from? It's here in this,
Okay.
oh, so which code am I looking at? This is, oh, this is
What
an
are you
ETL
seeing?
comp.
Like what does
So,
Angular do?
so the problem is, there's a build problem with, so this is just a spurious error message. I mean, there's an error but it's not, you know, it's taking it down to the bowels of what retailers do, which isn't what you need. Did you compile the IDL? And let's see if that compiles successfully. Compile, is that, I can't read that. Okay. Okay. Now, and rebuild everything?
Rather than that, we still need the search mechanism. And have you been to the class yesterday? Three programs?
So you're getting a bunch of errors.
Just these two, that the warnings are by the unused area.
Yeah, this. So there's got to be something wrong.
Like there's a
with your-
revision?
is this a
No, we still have work.
Yeah.
I want to see a little more of your IDL.
To take into account the presentation performance.
Just unfit.
There's one which that didn't even do anything other than make a copy of the story link, and then host it on a paper server. That was
Actually, this was the
I
working.
know, that's fine.
This was the working copy. So this is the backup one.
Well, I don't know what you mean.
Yeah.
When you say working
Working
copy,
copy in the
did it
system.
work at one time?
Yes, it was running, and then I took a backup of that, and then I was using it for blocking queues. I added a blocking queue, and then this error came in that project.
Well, take out the blocking queue.
Yeah, I
first.
did that. I just closed that project. This is the working
Oh, okay.
project. If I'm running just the same presence that I'm getting for that project, I'm getting it here. That's the
But it did work at one time?
Yes, yes, it
And you
was-
have, this is exactly the
Exactly
same
the
code
same
that
code.
worked at one time?
Yes.
Clean the project?
So I guess if
Clean the
C
solution.
sees that enough
Clean the
web,
solution. Go to the solution, all the way to the
it's
top.
more- It's
Clean
more
it.
interesting in what we did in backend. Which is fine.
And now rebuild it,
We have to,
and, why don't you compile the IDL
like a
first?
component in the backend to have a lot of work to do. I was thinking about the search part.
Yeah, so we could show the search just
So
like
I
that,
guess we-
huzzah part.
Yeah, because the bidding part is really just a bunch of components being together without the implementations.
Okay, now build, not the client yet, build the,
But there is no link, there is no search, there is no linkage.
which component doesn't depend on the
So
other
our search
component?
could be what
Build the
we-
one that doesn't depend, the one that's being used, the one that doesn't depend on the other.
That's a good idea.
This one.
Okay, build it.
How, I haven't seen it since the website itself,
I
since
think
last week.
Vipu, I think he got the, shall the number of the work or something?
Sort of build.
Hosted.
Mhm.
And not
Something's
reserved.
changed, you changed something.
I was wondering, actually, blocking queue for the piece that I did, is there something wrong with that?
No, I mean, you can't, COM can't know about the blocking queue, but you can use it internally in the code inside.
Yeah.
you know,
I
what
just
COM
tried
wraps.
to,
Yeah, we
tried to
definitely
take the,
need-
every piece.
Yeah, but something, you know, now you removed it and now it's not working. You changed something and, you know, I have no idea what you changed.
Yeah, I changed in the previous project,
I can't.
and then I just closed it, it's not
Seven
using,
for
I'm not using that
seven.
now. This is the one which was
That's a
working,
practice from like.
so that.
Yeah, but.
And the same project if I'm getting.
But it can't be identical, or, because it built before and now it doesn't build.
Yeah, the same project I tried running it in my friend's
And
laptop.
something can,
It's running on your friend's laptop,
Yes.
but not
like,
here.
like we're at the time that like we really need to like,
I guess it's really undefined.
Kill this. Close the
Yeah.
Visual Studio. Do you have my clean.bat file? Okay, go to, yeah, just go up here to directories,
Yeah.
go to directories. And go to 687,
yeah, I
You
think
can
the
go to,
first thing
code.
we definitely need to do.
You can go to project
is connect
1,
all the
help
parts
spring
and get at
18.
least a search mechanism working.
Yeah, with, for that we need the code to.
And it should be clean.zip
And
in there.
I'm pretty sure they said
Download
that
it.
they worked a lot on it this past weekend,
Uh-huh.
so,
Yeah, I've seen that.
so,
And do you have a directory that's on your path that you know of?
Yeah, I mean, it's just see and just.
No. Do you have a path in your directory that everything, so it's on your environmental path, is what I'm asking.
Box.
If you have a directory that's on your environmental path, then no matter where you are in your machine, from the console you can type in that, anything in that directory and it'll find it because it's on your path. You don't have anything like that. Okay, so then what you have to do is you have to copy this clean. So make a Control-C, make a copy, and then go to your project directory, where this project is.
So we.
And Control-V.
Next Monday?
Okay, now pull up,
So maybe tonight
pull up
I'll go over.
Windows Explorer. No, I'm sorry, you don't want Windows Explorer. You want the developer's command prompt. Pull up the developer's command
I might
prompt.
have to, meet that in a place for a whole weekend.
Yeah. Again, I'm gone Friday, Saturday, so racing, but I'm here Sunday.
I'm sorry, just for.
But yeah, if we meet.
Yeah, we can, somewhere, one, like for a whole day, or 2 days,
Yeah.
or 3 days. You have, much work we could do.
Like I'm definitely,
That's fine.
Sunday, this is my,
Yeah.
like I know this is my work.
If you navigate to it in Windows Explorer and just get the path, and then you can
Okay,
open up the
you're
developer's command
working
prompt
on
and paste the path, and then
working on
CD and
something.
paste the path, and that'll take you.
Okay.
Weekend is will be.
No, definitely.
Although, the 4 presenters, I think, if you must be, two of them are using, I think, they're either using some form or using language. And then the two groups are directly, I think they're directly copied from,
Actually,
Are you not finding developer's
yeah,
command
I
prompt?
just type something.
copying the code, they're not using language. So one presentation looks exactly like Norway, another looks exactly like,
I feel like that's like not.
Right there. So now, open that up, open it.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Now, don't do it.
Like I feel like even if you're gonna
Pin
copy
it.
the idea, like you're supposed to.
Pin it to your
do
test.
from scratch. To learn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To like use it.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Now,
it's,
what you want to do is navigate to your project directory,
Count as a form of.
where you put the clean.
If I was a professor, I would do it, but.
One way to do it is to
Different
navigate using
standards.
Windows Explorer,
Oh.
and then copy
Okay,
that
I just
path,
asked
and just paste it,
everyone-
and say
Yeah,
CD
yeah,
space,
yeah.
and paste it.
I'm gonna, because if we know exactly what everyone's doing, have a Cheetah or Maja, like taken anything on that, I don't know. if
Okay,
anything-
are you in that path?
Like,
So take, we didn't,
okay,
just
then
leave this
honestly,
here,
at
pull
this
up
point,
Windows
I'm just
Explorer
gonna
again,
assign, to start PowerPoint.
and extract.
Yeah, that would be
Doing
great.
doing the right, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
like,
that'd be great.
they need to do something.
Yeah.
So it's right there, can you see it cleaned up?
Yeah.
Now just type cleaned
It's
up.
very organized, because I just has a very specific requirement about the contract.
Yeah.
Okay, now,
Okay.
come back to Visual Studio
Okay.
and rebuild it.
Oh, I'm gonna sit here for a bit.
And do a rebuild. Do of that one project first, do a rebuild. You changed something.
Yes.
You accidentally changed something. I have no idea what you changed.
I just.
Do you have you
Yeah.
said that this works, this
Yeah.
compiles in your friend's machine?
Yes.
You're sure it's exactly the same code?
I mean, maybe I just don't want to technically.
Here's what I think you need to do. I can't, I'm working with the root, I can't
Okay.
sit here forever.
No, I just.
So, go to make sure you have that thing that your friend, that compiles and builds on your friend's machine.
Okay, the same
Okay.
one, okay.
And zip it, put it on this machine, in another spot, okay? And compile it, it should compile.
Okay.
If it compiles on your friend's machine, it should compile it, okay?
It could be a app difference.
No, he's getting a weird ATL, I think what happened when he was doing some code changes, and I think he accidentally changed something, he doesn't know it, maybe he just put a space accidentally in the wrong spot or something, but it's confusing, it's confusing.
I
to
started getting the M content only after, I just declared a blocking queue with beaster, and then I just put it in my code, I just compiled it once, I started getting this error.
And then you remove the beaster, but you still get the error, so your code is not back where it
Yes.
was before.
Yes.
Something happened.
Yeah.
And I suspect that you accidentally changed some code, and it has nothing to do with the beaster.
Okay,
It was
maybe I'll
that,
check I'll try to run that.
Did you try to compile the IPL?
Yeah, I did it. Yeah, I'll just try to compare it again and then it'll be back.
Yeah, okay. You can ask a quick question. It's been some time.
So I've been trying to port the socket, and I'm almost finished. I got the Camaro, which is this exact same part is work fine in Windows.
Uh-huh.
So it basically says the client handler in the socket listener it has some problem with the initialization.
She is having exactly the same problem.
Oh really?
And I don't know why.
I've been researching for this. I think it says either it's CP is something about R value, or it's or something to do with the CP is not a preference. Or something.
Yeah, same thing.
Uh,
Like that client.
The fact that it compiles in Windows and doesn't here is, I would expect if there was going to be a compilation problem, it would be in Windows, not in here.
Actually,
Because these guys are a little more up to date than Windows is.
before I working on this, I expanded a little on the server portal, and I had a similar problem.
On Windows?
Yeah, but the message doesn't look like this, but it's similar, which is the start parameter. We get a compiler said that basically it's something about threading. Doesn't know what the starting call object is or something like that. I didn't quite get the parameters. What it did is I think I just made the whole instance static, but I didn't try that yet out here. I'm not sure, but because I'm not sure it's the same letting speed.
You gotta be careful making instances static in a multi-thread,
Yeah, but in the parts constant GUI, it's actually I guess you have to do that because
Well, in the GUI,
Windows
there isn't a problem, but in, this isn't in the GUI.
this is the socket.
This is the socket code, and it's the C++ code.
So
It's odd. I'm gonna take a quick look at Looper's code. So if I, no promise to get to the bottom of it, it's just, I'll take a quick look at it if I can, because I'm grading other project ones. Okay, so, I'll see if I can figure out what's going on. But, you're using GCC? G++?
Yeah.
Have you tried Clang yet?
No.
Okay, I told her to try Clang. This could be a difference in implementing some of the newer features. So, let's see what happens when we try Clang. Why don't you send both me and Goo
Okay.
an email if Clang works.
Okay.
If Clang doesn't work, then you'll send me your code and I'll take a quick look at it. No promises, but if I can, I'll get to the bottom of it. And then if I don't have the time to figure out what's going on and Clang doesn't solve the problem, then we'll have a conversation on Thursday about where we go from here. How do we handle this? I know this earlier versions of my library have ported to Linux. And, you know, the sockets code itself should definitely compile on Linux, because a lot of the stuff that the changes I made to do IP6 are really I lifted right out of some Linux code. So, what we can do is, instead of using a lambda, we can always create a functor that does the same thing as the lambda, and that definitely should work.
Wait, this is a phone.
Well, a lambda is
Yeah, but inside the socket, it was lambda calling.
yeah. So if push comes to shove, we can always change that to a functor.
Yeah, I'll try that too.
You tried that and it still didn't work?
I will try.
Oh, okay. Why don't you try that? Because, you know, lambdas are just a shorthand way of creating a functor. And so if the lambda doesn't compile, you know, then it could be that there's some little syntactical issue, and it could well be that Visual C++ is doing it wrong, you know, is treating the syntax incorrectly, and I got it to work for Visual Studio, and now it's not working, you know, in a standards compile. That could well be, I don't know. But you know, trying Clang and then trying a functor, maybe trying to use a functor first before you, because that's a quick and easy thing. And if that works,
I will send
then send me an email and send an email to Go, and don't bother sending me your code. Okay. So she's going to try functor, and she'll try Clang, and if neither of those work, then she'll send me the code, and I'll let you guys know what.
Yeah, let me see if because it does it does come from the
Yeah, it comes from the lambda, so changing that to a functor.
Yeah, I'll see.
You know, could well.
I get it.
Yep. Okay, Tharut, let's go talk about your problem. First thing I got to do is do a little blood sugar check, because I know it's going low.
So we're gonna make it.
No, it doesn't seem like people can meet today. I'm asking people.
Yeah, this is quick. So the problem here is basically,
on the dashboard, whatever, like a page that's not printed.
you weren't very specific about what you were going to do, and you were really just doing stuff you'd already done before.
There's this much.
Oh, yeah, that's the part about.
Yeah, and you're using it, you know, but you're using it in a very traditional way. I bet my bottom dollar I could find a project, a code project that does pretty much what you're doing.
Just like planning it out, and
Yeah.
just being like this.
Although it might be,
I'll bet.
I might need to.
I'll bet.
I
Okay.
mean, I need to.
Those are.
You know, so the issue was, there's one of two ways to turn this around, okay? One is, you gotta be clearer about what you're really gonna do. I mean, what you did here was say, I'm gonna do this travel guide, you know, and it wasn't all about the travel guide, you know. Travel guide was just a placeholder that I'm gonna stuff my Amazon reel. Okay? So you can, you know, be a little more application focused. And, you know, or the other thing you can do is to push a little bit, use some, doing things that aren't just standard AWS, but, app client talking to AWS in a very, very standard way, what you're doing. That makes sense, I mean,
I'm just thinking like what something which should I add on?
well, I mean, you don't have to add on anything if you really take the application to heart and try to, push on, giving some real application functionality. Not just, I'm gonna talk to Amazon Web Services, but you give it some real application functionality, and that will push you into doing some things that aren't just a standard code project demo. I mean, so let's assume you do just what you're gonna do here, you put it all together, and then you look at it and you say, now, is this gonna be useful to somebody? And you'll say, well, not really, because I really didn't do. And now you do, and you do, and you do, okay, to make it, okay?
I guess I have to think about it.
Yeah, the problem is that you really, you're interested, you've done a mobile app talking to Amazon Web Services before, right?
No.
Well, you've done Amazon
I've done like-
talking to some, Azure or something.
No, I haven't done any Amazon Web Services part, but like I have worked on most of the other technologies like C++, C#, Java, Spring Boot, and even Android, Node.js instead. The only thing I haven't worked on was
Using the web services, using
AWS.
using the cloud. You hadn't used the cloud at all ever before?
No, I used a little bit of Azure, but
Yeah.
not that much. So the new part was AWS entirely. And
Yeah,
back then,
yeah, so you're converting that existing knowledge base, working with Azure to Amazon, which is fine. I don't have any issue with that. But you need to do a little more than that.
So my idea basically was to just explore Amazon Web Services and show, demonstrate all those services.
But this project is not supposed to be a tutorial on Amazon Web Services. Okay, it needs to be a little more, application focused. I mean, if you do that, then you're gonna get a grade somewhere in this region. It's okay, you can pass it for it, but you're gonna get a grade somewhere in this because you're not really doing a project, you're doing a demo of Amazon Web Services. Okay. There's a fine line, not a huge distance between the two, but it's a distance between a B and an A, or a B and an A minus or something.
And there was a lot of work, so it might just fit in. Just considering the basic idea of like just tracking.
You gotta do more than demo Amazon Web Services. That certainly can be part of it, could be even a big part of it, but you gotta do more than just demonstrate Amazon Web Services. So, I think that's really what you're doing. Most of it. If you do a little more just to make it into a really workable app, something to be useful. It doesn't even have to be, a fully formed app. It just has to show, here's some really useful functionality, something that someone would find engaging and useful. A non-techie wouldn't find a demo of Amazon Web Services useful.
The idea, this is basically the idea which I got from one of the research projects that I worked on. So except the location, except the GPS.
I mean, all that's fine, but you need to do a little more formative work to turn it into a useful app. Okay. Yes.
I was running it in this week, just running the same project that I've been running there. So then overnight, what I do is I reinstall the Visual Studio again once more.
I don't think this is a Visual Studio issue. So you're running this on Akmar's machine?
Yes.
And it's working?
Yes.
Do you live together? Are you in the same? Oh, so you just borrowed his machine? Okay. I think what you ought to do, I don't think reinstalling Visual Studio will do it. I think you'll spend more time than you have and not fix the problem. Is there a machine on which it works available to you long enough to finish the project?
Okay, my transmission, okay, I'll ask. Yeah, I'll get it.
See if he can let you use the machine long enough just to finish it.
Okay.
You know, it's fine then, you know, in the summer, you're gonna be around, or whenever,
I can get the
then you
laptop.
can try and reinstalling it and seeing what that. One of the problems is that the Visual Studio uninstaller doesn't do a complete uninstall. It leaves junk around, and sometimes if you got a problem with it, you reinstall it, and the junk stuff is still there, and it gives you the same problem.
No, I mean, I'm scared because what if I run the same blocking queue again in this laptop and then the same problem comes and says that that's the, am I going wrong somewhere? That's what.
Here's what I would do is, it can't be a problem, you know, I mean, I've used the blocking queue in objects and other students have.
I mean, I just put
So
it.
here's what I think you should do. Get your project, so it's running, you know. And if push comes to shove, submit your parts. Okay. So, you know, it won't be a disaster for you. You won't get a great grade for the project, but it won't be a disaster for you. And then, you know, so you set that's, you know, in a place, it's working, you know, that part, all that's working, and you can upload it as your project if you have to. Then, you know, separately, you make a copy of that, and you try using the visuals, using the blocking again. Okay. The COM can't know, you know, you don't want COM to know about the blocking queue, but as long as it's embedded inside this, you know, C++ object, that's fine.
Thank you.
It looks like, you know, query interface is trying to, you know, it looks to me like you're trying to, that the COM is not just using the C++, but it's, you know, you're trying to do COM things. COM doesn't know anything about blocking queues. We get totally confused. You can't pass a blocking queue. You know, you can make a function, a COM function, that internally uses blocking queue. And that class, that ATL class, can hold a blocking queue. You just can't expose it to any of the COM interfaces or query interface or any of that stuff.
I just give it in the header file. I just used it in this one of the functions.
Well, that may be the whole problem, is that you making reference to it in the header file.
Okay. I won't do that.
Okay.
Yeah, got it.
I mean, you can have your own blocking queue header file so this CPP code includes blocking queue header file, but you don't make that header file, you know, ATL can't know about that header file. If it does, weird things will happen. That could be your whole problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, let me get my stuff ordered here. We'll go to the office, I'll check my blood sugar, and then we'll talk for a little bit. And getting to the point where I am not very useful anymore. Okay, but we'll do whatever, I'll try to help.
Professor Avi is not here. I'll give it to her. Or...
Yeah, why don't you, do you guys live in the same building?
No, we are like nearby. I can drop it to her.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, why don't you do that? I don't think it's, I'm not supposed to let one student see another, but since you're working together on the same project, you know. I haven't bent the rules too badly. Okay. Come on, Bruce, let's see what we can do. No, I won't have the energy to talk beyond that.
Sure.
So when he's done with me, I'm gonna be totally a basket case, okay? The obligation, you were obligated to provide 3 presentations, and I don't think there's any way you're gonna be able to do that. I mean, you know, you need to wait until Tuesday to present, right? And the final presentation is on May 26th. So I don't think there's any way you're gonna get another presentation. I think what you need to do is to try to make your final presentation serve as opposed to. So you're gonna give the technology presentation, right? Probably, so you're not gonna get it. So make sure that you do some of the technology in your final presentation. And you verbally point it out to me when you're doing it. So, we can talk a little more about it on Tuesday if you want to get your presentation. Okay, let's go talk.
basically, I put Ashita in charge of the final report. I put Kushik in charge of creating a presentation. Eol is added PayPal and is adding Firebase tonight into it. I don't know if you've seen it, but I just put that you'll hear the idea that our search can be complex. So I just told people to think about it, and then either we can meet from 2 to 3. But the thing is, I have to leave by 3. So if we're gonna meet at 2, I need people to like be there at 2, and not like 2:30. Like usually when we say that at 2, people don't get there till like 2:33.
Yeah.
So like either I can meet from 2 to 3, or we can meet at 7:15 as a group, and like people can meet before then to like work on stuff. But like I think we need to have like a group meeting. You know?
Yeah.
Um,
Should we try out the format?
you have what?
Course.
Oh, okay.
Format.
Okay. So maybe 7:15.
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
Okay, what else before tomorrow? I just want to make sure we're not doing this all tomorrow, you know what I mean? Like to have some ideas before tomorrow to like be able to have a productive meeting instead of like going over all this like managerial.
Yeah, but I think the main problem is we're all working on frameworks.
Yeah.
That's why it's hard to.
Nobody like really knows anything, so
Yeah.
it's all just like, what can I learn?
Um, oh yeah, about the login mechanism.
Log in.
Login mechanism. Several groups used cache yesterday, I
Okay.
think. So we can use cache.
What does
But-
that mean? Just like stores information?
It means when you're first logging in the web page, store some stuff in computer, and then every time you fetch new pages,
Takes it out of the cache first.
every time you fetch pages, the fetching message will have cache in it, so that you know if someone's already logged in, the login page will be the login window will be in cache, which is how they usually manage keeping the login status. But I'm not sure how Firebase is setting it. I believe it is only on the authentication part. If that's the case, then we can also working on logging. I would see if I can search for it, but it's probably a task that we can assign to someone, like a cache demo. It doesn't need authentication, so you don't need a way to check password stuff. But you need to, once you log in, and then if you start a new page, the method that you're fetching the page should have the cache info in it, and you should have the login. The first time you log in, you should put the login info into the cache.
So whenever you try to log in, you look in the cache. If it says you're logged in, then you know you're logged in. If it doesn't say anything, then you're not logged in, and then you have to log in.
Yeah. So basically, the mechanism that maintains the login status, which is different from authentication. I think we can do that with cache.
Okay, I'm making Raja do it.
Because I saw.
So does this make sense? Can you please look into logging in and using cache to save the information that they're logged in? There might be demos online.
Yeah. Basically, maintaining the login status with new pages, something like that.
To save information.
So it would be Okay, sure.
Okay,
All right. I'll see you tomorrow.
see you tomorrow. Let me know if you think of anything else, just either message me separately or in the group or whatever.
All right, I'll do that.